So we're going to talk about 4 signs that you may not have what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur or business owner. It's not pretty, but it's true. Welcome, my name is Shope, founder of Culture Rich World. I'm a recording artist and lover of all things creativity, culture, and business. Let's get into it. There's maybe never been a time in history where it was more fashionable or more trendy to quote unquote be an entrepreneur. And it's probably never been easier than it is today to start a business. And so because of that, a lot of people are naturally venturing into entrepreneurship. And that's great. It's awesome, in fact, which is why it feels so strange to make this video, because I will always advocate for starting your own thing, trying to chart your own course, being independent. I'll always advocate for ownership, because ultimately that's what entrepreneurship is. It's ownership of your time, of your earning potential, and in many ways, ownership of your life. That said, these principles of charting your own course and controlling your own destiny, as it would, are not only realized through entrepreneurship. Like, it is possible to have a job and still adhere to these values of freedom and autonomy to a degree. But sadly, there's a lot of people out here who are destroying their lives trying to be something that they're not. And then there are other people who are just trying to figure out, what do I have to do to be a successful entrepreneur? Well, I'm making this video to prepare and protect you should you decide that you want to go down this path of starting your own business. Prepare you for the path ahead and protect you from those people who would want to take advantage of you. But why should you listen to me? Who am I? Well, I've been doing this entrepreneurship thing for about 9 years at this point, and I've done pretty well for myself. So with all that said, here are 4 signs that maybe you should not start a business if you're thinking about it. Number 1, you want quick cash. Do not start a business if you're looking for quick cash, okay? Don't let any fake guru out there tell you otherwise. My God, this platform is full of so many fake gurus who are going to say things like this to you. Best side hustles to start in 2023, that you only have to work like 30 minutes a month and you're going to make $1 million a month. I'm telling you this, there's no such thing as an easy business. None. No matter what it is, any and everything requires a measure of proficiency and intensity. So even the simplest side hustles that you can think of, you may maybe make some money to start off with, but if you really want to make a good and sustainable income, you will have to go beyond the beginner level to more advanced level. All right. And it's basic supply and demand. The greater the supply of something, the lower the demand. And the easier it is to do something or to make something, the more of that thing will be available because more people are doing it, thereby driving down the demand of that thing. That's why every single business on planet Earth requires hard work, skill, and dedication to grow. So for example, before starting Culture Rich World, I thought as long as I made good clothes with good designs, people are going to buy it, right? Wrong. It's turned out to be a lot harder than I thought it would be, and I've learned a lot along the way. So for instance, I learned the pros and cons of having a small versus a large product line. I also didn't know the difference between using the pre-order model versus the inventory model when launching a product, something I had to learn. Well, how about learning how to properly manage cash flow for a physical goods business? I didn't know about that before. Or what about learning real digital marketing, like email marketing, digital ads, and things of that nature? Or what about learning just basic human psychology and customer buying habits? Like, I learned very quickly that just because something looks good, and even just because people like it, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to buy it. Coming from a music industry background where the music is pretty much free to consume, I had to learn what it takes to get people to actually spend their money, especially on physical products. And then there was learning the difference between personal branding versus company branding, and so on and so forth. The point is this: every single business that you can think to start has hard work in it, okay? And don't let anybody fool you into thinking otherwise. Alex Hormozi says this: people radically underestimate how much effort is required to achieve above average results. This is what that means. That means this: there's a baseline level of performance and execution that everybody has to live up to in order to achieve average results, right? But to outperform the average, a lot of us think it only requires marginally more work, when in reality, it actually takes exponentially larger amounts of work to rise above the status quo, which is why only a few people ever rise above that level, right? Whenever somebody tells me they're starting a business, and this happens like pretty frequently, I almost always say to them, it's probably going to take longer than you think it's going to take. And it's probably going to be harder than you think it's going to be. So be prepared and go, right? And that's because success rests on this foundational biblical principle that says, he or she who does not work shall not eat. There's no such thing as an easy business. There's no such thing as a quick cash business. So number one, do not start a business if you're looking for quick cash. Number two, you want a sure thing. Do not start a business if you're looking for a sure thing, okay? Everything, business is inherently risky. Even in blue ocean industries, some will succeed and some will fail. A blue ocean industry refers to markets and industries that are largely untapped, like there's a big market, but not a lot of competition. So innovators can come and create a product and dominate the market. That's a blue ocean industry. So think social media back in 2010 versus now, or think AI now versus in 20 years from now. But here's the thing, even in those industries, some succeed and some fail. Before the Y2K crash, there were about 3,000 tech companies all trying to get a hold of this internet thing. After the crash, only a couple hundred remained. And even in evergreen industries, so these are industries that will always be in demand, some will succeed and some will fail. Like think of an evergreen industry, for example, think of food, right? It stands to reason that humans will always need to eat. So therefore, there will always be a market for food businesses, right? That's a perpetual need. But in fact, most food businesses don't even last more than a year, if that. I have personally had businesses that flamed out in evergreen industries. I remember starting and running a tutoring business and an academic tutoring businesses for a few years because my academic background was in science and math. So this is in the education industry. For a while, I did individual one-on-one tutoring and actually wanted to scale the company by launching a tutoring center. And I almost succeeded, except the last minute it failed right before launching. A couple of important pieces fell apart, and I eventually ended up leaving that business and closing it down. And this isn't an evergreen industry like education. So there is no sure thing in entrepreneurship. And that's because there's so many factors that go into building a successful business. Everything from timing to the specific product or service that you're offering, to the geography of your business, like where are you actually located, to the skills, qualities, and character of the founder, to your personal circumstances, how much time or money can you invest in it, and a bunch of other things that you can't even begin to predict. So many things go into making a successful business. So the point is, there's so many moving pieces, so many variables involved in starting, running, scaling, and ultimately selling a business if that's what you want to do. So there's no such thing as a sure thing. Business is risk, entrepreneurship is risk. The only thing you can guarantee is how much work you are willing to put in to make it a success. So do not go into entrepreneurship if you want a sure thing. Number three, you are emotionally unstable. You probably shouldn't start a business if you don't have a good grip on your emotions. I know it sounds like a shot at some people, but listen, even the most emotionally strong and capable individuals will still have these swings because business is tough. Business is a full contact sport. Business will have you at the peak of Mount Kilimanjaro one day and down in the depths of despair on the very same day if you let it. Because when you work really hard to bring something to life or to close a deal or you have a major win, the feeling is so amazing, almost intoxicating. But when on the other hand, you lose a deal or lose an opportunity, which is inevitable, those mood swings can be so significant that you can get to the point that your overall mood, your demeanor, your disposition is regulated by your business. And this is not a good place to be in. And I'm not talking about just a normal human emotional response that comes from successes and failures, wins and disappointments. No. I'm talking about getting to the point where your entire mental health and even your sense of self-identity is tied to how your business is performing. And this is not good. And I've been there before. There have been times during which I felt my mood fluctuate multiple times, sometimes in a given day, peak to valley to peak. And so it cycles. And generally, I'm a pretty resilient guy and I've been doing this for a while. But whenever I was in those places, when those mood swings were happening, it was because I wasn't maintaining what I like to call a healthy indifference. A healthy indifference allows you during the good times to look at your business and be grateful for what's going on, but to keep a level head knowing that business cycles. And so you continue to focus on what needs to be done in order to sustain the run for as long as possible. And during the bad times, which are also inevitable, that healthy indifference allows you to stay level-headed, to think rationally, not just reactively about what you need to do to go back or to recreate those good times. It's like the movie 300 and that scene when they win a battle and all the men are celebrating, but Leonidas is straight-faced and the audio, the dialogue goes something like, "Our king doesn't celebrate, not tonight." Any real successful entrepreneur will tell you this. They'll tell you that business is tough. And so if you're already predisposed to wild emotional swings and are emotionally unstable, this life is not for you. Running a business requires a balance between stoicism and adaptability. Stoicism to not be swayed to the extremes, but to remain focused, and adaptability to be able to look at your efforts, to look at the results of them, and then to adjust as is necessary. You simply cannot let emotions rule in business or it'll destroy you. Please don't do it. You will drive yourself crazy. You will drive your staff crazy. You will drive your customers crazy. So do not go into entrepreneurship if you don't have a good grip of your emotions. Number 4, you haven't figured out your why. 4th reason you might not want to start a business is if you haven't nailed down your why. This point is from Simon Sinek and his book, Start With Why. Although I read this book, I didn't really begin to appreciate the lessons until I started implementing it years into my entrepreneurial journey. And the main premise of the book is this: it's that people don't buy the what of a company, they buy the why of the company. Beyond what you're selling, why are you selling that thing? Knowing this, the what simply then becomes a means of achieving the deeper why. And the question why resonates with people more than the what, because why gets closer to the big issues of life, right? So ideas like purpose, like meaning, like identity even. And so Simon explains that the why is the North Star. The why is your guiding principle, right? Not only does it help you clearly communicate to your customer, it helps center both you and everybody in your business. Also, companies that have their why solidly defined and figured out tend to do better than companies that only sell the what. A classic example is Apple. One of the reasons Apple has been so successful is because they know their why and they've always been consistent and stuck through it. They follow through everything that they do. What is their why, you might ask? It is to disrupt. It is to challenge the traditional way of doing things, to break the mold, to break the status quo, if you will. And because this is their why, their what is almost irrelevant at this point. And that's why they've been able to exist, not just exist, but to thrive in different industries. Think about it, right? They disrupted consumer electronics with their Macs and the MacBooks and the iPad and the iPod. They disrupted the music industry with iTunes. They disrupted telecommunications with the iPhone. Fun fact, did you know that before the iPhone, phone companies like AT&T and Verizon, they told the phone manufacturers what feature to put on the phone. But Apple was the first company to actually flip this. They pretty much went to these phone companies and said, this is what we're putting on our phone, figure it out. And the phone companies, they hated it, but they ultimately submitted and they had to do it. In this way, Apple disrupted that whole industry. Even now, in an age of big data where everyone is trying to get a hold of your data, Apple seems to be fighting for user privacy. And it's because it's the same fundamental why, to disrupt, to challenge the accepted way of doing things. That's one of the reasons Apple is so successful across industries. Their what doesn't nearly matter as much as their why. And so as your North Star, it helps guide the multitude of decisions that you have to make when running your business. You can funnel all of your questions, all of those decisions into a singular question. Does this align with my why? This is something I've been applying in my business and beginning to see the results of it. Right? So with Culture Rich World, we're selling clothes and we're selling music. That's the what. But why are we doing this? Why does it even matter? We're doing this for 2 reasons. Number 1, we want to amplify the voices of those in the African diaspora. And number 2, to build bridges and connect people of different cultures. We are doing this because we believe there is value in cultural diversity. That is our why. And because of that, that resonates with more people. The danger of not knowing your why before starting your business or soon after starting it, because again, sometimes you just start, is this frustration. It's a loss of time and money because your business isn't growing. It's stress, it's confusion, and ultimately burnout. Knowing your why is critically important. So in summary, these are 4 quick reasons as to why you maybe should now get into entrepreneurship if you're thinking about it. Now, if you've gone through all 4 of these and you've audited yourself, you might find that you're good to go. Or you might realize that even though you want to have a business, maybe you're not quite ready. That's okay. It doesn't mean you can never start a business. It doesn't mean you should never start a business. All this is meant to do is to help you begin to think in terms of certain categories and mindsets and expectations that you need to have as you head towards ultimately launching your business. And finally, it's no secret, I mentioned it earlier, I advocate for ownership. I advocate independence. I advocate self-sustenance. For some people, that looks like entrepreneurship, but for some people, it's not entrepreneurship, but rather Intra-preneurship. And this is an amazing option for those who realize that maybe entrepreneurship is not for them. Maybe that's you after watching this video. Basically, intrapreneurship is making yourself so incredibly valuable at your job that you pretty much call the shots. I have a very good friend and she literally does this. Over the last few years, she has 2 massive companies, and I mean like multi-billion-dollar companies, fighting for her. So she's been going back and forth between the 2 companies, and each move she makes is a step up because each company is trying to outcompete the other by offering her more pay, more benefits, more time off, more of what she wants. And all of this because she is so freaking good at her job that she is in demand. So I'll close out this video with this. Success isn't always entrepreneurship. Independence isn't always entrepreneurship. Self-sustenance isn't always entrepreneurship. It ultimately comes down to this. How valuable do you make yourself? So if entrepreneurship is not for you, that's fine. But if you want to give this thing a go, if you're thinking you'd like to be your own boss, then remember these things. Don't go into it for quick cash. Don't go into it because you're looking for a sure thing. Don't go into it if you're emotionally unstable. And don't go into it if you don't have your why locked down. If you got value from this video, then why don't you support in a real way? Like, comment, and share this with a friend. Next thing you can do, smash the subscribe button and hit the bell notification. And the third way you can support this channel is to sign up for the Culture Rich World mailing list. And for signing up for the mailing list, you get this, a free tote bag. But this isn't just like your regular tote bag. This is like a amazing primo situation. So yes, just for signing up to the mailing list, you get a free designer tote bag. Don't you say I don't love you, okay? But yeah, being part of the mailing list also has additional privileges and extra benefits like access to early drops. Some are coming very soon, private events, special pricing, and a whole lot more. So just join the list and you will thank me later. Links are in the description. Now check out these music videos for some good vibes and this for some additional insights. See you next time. I'll admit it. Yeah, I get it. You've been holding me down for a minute. I've been taking too long, I'll admit it. Yeah, I'll admit it.